Recently, I watched a video by a fellow YouTuber. He happens to have a pretty decent sized trucking company in Chicago. He is Eastern European. He, I believe, is half Ukrainian, half Georgian, just like me. I'm not sure, but he was talking about what he believes is going to happen to his company in the near future, what is already happening to his company, and what will happen to other companies that are Eastern European, considering the new regulations and all the changes that are happening. I got a lot of slack for that video because of my neutrality. And fortunately or unfortunately, I am bilingual, so I have insight into how some of these companies operate. Not all, but some of them. The second time this is happening to me. Today, after I made that bankruptcy video, I got comments like this. Take a look. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say, how could you? But I said, but I didn't mean that. No, because I was very, very clear in that video. I showed you the expose. I showed you my opinion on this. And the opinion was very, very clear. If you build your company on quicksand, the only thing you can be certain of is the fact that you will crumble at one point or another. I am very neutral in my videos. This was not one of them. I'm going to make this abundantly clear since a lot of people seem to miss that point. For those thinking that I'm not on the side of the American trucker, for 4 years that I have had this YouTube channel, everything was geared towards the American trucker to help them survive this market in one way or another.
What's going on, good, wonderful people? It's Saja here, back with another banger today. So Miranda from the Trucking Made Successful YouTube channel came out with a video earlier last week about how certain carriers out of the Chicagoland are going to go out of business due to the new federal regulations involving non-domiciled CDLs. And honestly, this is music to my ears. Now, trucking companies going bankrupt is nothing new. It happens pretty much every day. And since post panoramic C-19, y'all know what I'm trying to say, trucking bankruptcies have been at an all-time high.
You know, this is breaking news right here. Montgomery Transport is now Chapter 7, ceases operations. This just happened
Here in Springfield, Missouri at RBX Inc. They filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Drivers stated that trucks were getting repoed at the headquarters and they had to get their stuff out.
Now, as I was flying today, I got so many truck drivers sending me emails, and I wanted to screenshot a couple of them for you. Fulmer closed operations in 2 weeks after 65 years in business, 71 years in trucking, over 400 trucks and 17 truck trailers, over 100 employees now out of work, a lot of drivers looking for work. This is just sad how the government is allowing these ambulance chasing attorneys to run the family business out of business.
So, yeah, you saw that, you heard that. Now, even more trucking companies are speculated to go out of business. Now, I don't know if this is actually going to happen. There's also a chance that they may pivot to another industry. We'll get into that in just a second. But for now, what we have in place is called the interim final rule. And basically that places a lot of restrictions on non-citizens getting their CDL. In addition to the 200,000 truck drivers that possess a non-domiciled CDL, they also face restrictions in getting that CDL renewed. Now, in this video, Miranda actually references a Freightways article in which her tweet is actually in the article. And we'll get into that in just a second. But I actually do want to know exactly what this article says. So we're actually going to go over it together. Now, the name of the article reads, Duffy's halt of non-domiciled CDLs could wipe out illegal operators. Again, that sounds fantastic to me. So let's get into it. So it says here, on September 26, 2025, U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy announced an emergency order requiring states to immediately stop renewing non-domiciled commercial driver's licenses. This move effectively ends a widespread practice where states issued CDLs to non-citizens without work visas or even extended CDLs well beyond the expiration of those visas. And to be quite honest, this is long overdue, and it's probably going to take a very, very long time to enforce these types of laws, because the thing with long-haul OTR drivers is that it's easier to play cat and mouse, catch me if you can. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. But yeah, this is long overdue. A lot of drivers' lives, American drivers' lives, have been upended by the recent changes in trucking over the years, in regards to immigration policies. And to, finally bring back law and order, that can actually be very beneficial for, the truck drivers in the industry that have essentially had their wages undercut by this. Now, continuing with the article, it says that the rise of non-domiciled CDL holders. So in the recent years, motor carriers have increasingly hired drivers with non-domiciled CDLs. These drivers have been attractive for hires for companies because they often accept wages well below market rates and are willing to violate hours of service rules without hesitation. Now, to be fair, there are certain American truck drivers that are willing to violate HOS regulations, particularly drivers that don't have a favorable record that wouldn't be hired on a reputable carrier, or even SAP drivers. They're willing to bend and break the laws if it means putting food on the table, supporting their family, paying the bills, essentially surviving. But as for these non-domiciled CDL holders that are being, imported over from other countries, I understand that, the countries that they come from, they're less than favorable conditions. These countries are usually corrupt. There's conflict. They are usually from countries that have extreme poverty and destitution. And I get that when they come here for a better life, obviously that's human nature, but these companies are evil and they're exploiting these drivers, breaking the laws. And say if something happens to these drivers, which has happened multiple times, you never hear from these companies again. They disappear, they reappear because they're chameleon carriers, and the cycle repeats.
Has FedEx indicated that they've changed anything?
From what we can see, nothing's been changed.
In a December 2024 court filing, the company's attorneys wrote, FedEx Ground did not hire the drivers and had no duty. FedEx Ground accident. Federal regulators after the accident. Safety is our highest priority. Iso Rizzo ceased operations 6 months after the accident, but the company's owner now runs another trucking company. Federal regulators gave Simon Express an unsatisfactory safety rating after the accident. The company also shut down, and its owner also runs another trucking company. St. Lot testified that he no longer drives 18-wheelers.
The business model of exploitation. Some foreign-owned carriers have developed a highly profitable model: import drivers from their home countries, pay them below wages, and have them run nearly nonstop. While the conditions are brutal, many drivers accept them because the pay still exceeds what they earn back home, and since they live in their trucks, there's no housing costs, no rent, and no commute. This model has allowed these companies to thrive even while much of the U.S. trucking industry faces much of the deepest downturns in history. So yes, this article pretty much has been confirming what we've been saying for years, that American trucking wages have been suppressed. They've been depressed because of an influx of truck drivers. We all know basic economic supply and demand. There is, in fact, a trucking surplus, not necessarily a shortage, which is what I guess the ATA has been pushing this narrative for years, that there is in fact a truck driver shortage, but the market doesn't reflect that. In fact, there is actually a TikTok content creator by the name of Trucker's Shade Room, and pretty much he makes videos with the cracked screen exposing these freight rates off the load board. So let's take a look. They're actually pretty funny.
Y'all take a look at this stupid dumbass load right here picking up out of Florida going way to motherfucking California. 30,000 pounds, you're going to have to drive 2,500 miles and they're going to give your motherfucking ass $1.09 a mile. That is wild on the real. They're going to pay your own and opping ass $2,700 to drive all the way to California. Let's take a look at the stupid dumbass load. Operating costs for this stupid dumbass load, you're going to have to put away $1,100. Fuel costs, you're going to burn $1,400 worth of fuel. Your money gone. Your money gone, homie. On the real, your own and opping ass going all the way to California for nothing. Look at your profit. Look at your motherfucking profit. They're going to pay your motherfucking ass $66 to go all the way to motherfucking California. The crazy part is you're going to spend that on tolls. You don't get shit. You're going to drive this load all the way to California for nothing on the real. You tripping for real. Let's call the people, see if we get some more money for this stupid dumbass load. How you doing, buddy?
So let's talk about the bankruptcies ahead. This regulatory shift poses existential threats to many carriers, particularly small and mid-sized ones relying on this labor pool. Analysts predict a wave of bankruptcies as companies confront operations without their traditional workforce. Now, let's get into Miranda's tweet, which she actually received some pushback on, which we'll get into in just a second. But then again, I think I played a clip at the beginning of the video of her responding to the backlash, the recent backlash from this particular video. But let's just get into the tweet first. It says here, have a little insight on this because I'm bilingual. And for those of you who don't know, Miranda herself is actually Ukrainian and Georgian. So, yeah, she says she's bilingual, and the reason the bankruptcies will happen is not just because of cheap labor will no longer be available. Many carriers who hire primarily non-domiciled CDL holders have built a business model which can only survive if drivers are ready to make up for the bad rates by running more miles in a shorter period of time. 1,000 miles in a day, for example. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. You know what I'm talking about. See, I like that she's not afraid to call this behavior out, which is pretty much common in the Eastern European Chicagoland community. But like I said, she does face backlash, being that she is, Ukrainian descent. She does get pushback from these carriers. But continuing. Now, if we take those folks out of the equation and these carriers can only hire folks who will run legally, then they will get hit with the reality of the market. For lack of a better word, some carriers are not built to survive if they have to follow the law, and that is a huge problem. It has also messed up the market with brokers now expecting you to do 800 to 900 miles runs in a day. I posted about it recently, and one broker said many people ask us to change the appointment dates to earlier delivery. Yes, bankruptcies will happen. That's because those companies, especially the larger ones with 50 to 100 trucks, all financed, will no longer be able to escape the reality of this market. If you build your company on quicksand, there is only one thing you can be sure of. One day it will crumble. Shout out to Miranda if you're watching this, and I'm sorry that you did receive pushback from these Eastern European carriers, these Chicagoland CEOs, whoever they are, or even people who are on their side. I'm sorry if you received pushback against them, but that's pretty much you saying the quiet part out loud. And like I said, I appreciate you're not afraid to call these people out, and you're actually, supporting us. You're supporting our cause to, get rid of the bad actors, the bad faith actors in this industry. And to be perfectly honest, I think that a lot of these carriers, they're offended for sure when you call them out and hold them accountable. But at the end of the day, they are not ashamed. In my last video, I talked about Chicagoland CEO Mr. Gala. Now, Mr. Gala is the owner of two trucking companies that we know of publicly, Big Man Inc. and Direct Motor Lines. And of course, these companies are based out of multiple areas in the Chicagoland. So we have Direct Motor Lines, which can be found in Elk Grove Village, Illinois, as well as Clarendon Hills, Illinois. And then Big Man Inc. is also based out of Rolling Meadows, Illinois. So yes, of course, these companies, they have multiple MC numbers, and like I said, they're based out of different locations. Sounds like a bunch of red flags to me. And then of course, in a previous video that I've reacted to about Mr. Gala, one of his drivers openly admitted to running way past federal hours of service. So let's take a look at that.
It's no secret that we drive more than American drivers, sometimes faster, and we cover more miles. My record was, around 900 something miles in 14 hours. You can actually drive even more. You might say, yes, oh, that's all, you're not following the LD, you can't do that, logbook and so on. But I tell you this, there are different times in America, so many times the market is booming and you can make money. And sometimes you can't earn good money. Everyone wants to make money, and for that, all means are good as long as it's within the bounds of safety.
So yeah, like I said, absolutely no shame when it comes to breaking the laws, but when you call them out, hold them accountable, they want to say that, oh, we're xenophobic, we're anti-immigrant, we don't know their struggle, what they have to sacrifice, etc., etc. So yes, Mr. Gala actually commented on my last video, so let's read his comment because I didn't respond to it. I actually wanted to respond to it in person, so let's just take a look at what he said. I'm gonna pull it up right now on my phone. He says, people are being killed in Ukraine every single day. Just let you know that it's more than 500,000 already killed, but you are safe. It's not what you thinking about. Nowadays, likes under a video more important than people. Okay. Mr. Gala, you clearly didn't watch my full video. I get that it was 25 minutes, but I most definitely said that I actually sympathize with the Ukrainians that are going to be affected by the ending of the U4U program. I hate that, they have to go back to their home country. It's devastating. It sucks. Their country is essentially a war zone, and they may actually be pulled in to fight in the conflict because the Ukrainian government is desperate. They're pulling civilians, essentially kidnapping them to fight in the war. And it's so egregious that they actually had this one dude that had Down syndrome fighting on the front lines.
All right, come on, let's go. Fuck. All right then, Vov. What is going on? What's up?
Gray one?
Where's your rifle then?
They haven't given it to me yet. They said in battle.
You get it? Then tell me, how exactly are you going to shoot those Moskows?
Moskoyev?
Come out, please. Fuck.
So yeah, stuff like this that's happening overseas in Ukraine is egregious, it's disgusting, it's terrible, and I really do feel for you guys. But like I said, you have these laws in place that, they're the law, and it's unfortunate that you have to go, but I mean, it is what it is at the end of the day. But on the other hand, the issue with these refugee programs is that when the refugee programs end, it's hard to get them out because they don't want to leave. If the war in Ukraine ended, but the U4U program is still in place, will they still be willing to go back to Ukraine? Will they still be willing to go back to their home country if, let's say that the refugee program was still in place and the war was over? There's no immediate danger to them. So would they go back?
Berlin, Syrians have made a home from home. Streets filled with reminders of the lives many fled due to war. Germany's taken in the most Syrians in the EU. Yaman is one of around 1 million now living here, and he's not ready to go home yet. It's not safe. There's no security right now, so it would be a bad idea to send people back so early, he says. Yaman celebrated the fall of Assad, but then Germany announced it was temporarily freezing asylum applications for Syrians, and excitement quickly turned to fears of being forced home too soon.
Exactly. They won't. They won't. That's the issue with these programs. Now, in my opinion, I really do feel like Mr. Gala, along with a lot of Chicagoland CEOs, are pretty much coping with the fact that their trucking companies are going to crumble pretty soon. However, there may be some hope. Now, Miranda did say in the video that there's a chance that these carriers may pivot and get into the box truck industry. And it seems like they're just going to bring their bad habits, their behavior, their shenanigans to the box truck industry.
What I'm seeing a lot of lately is job postings for box trucks and cargo vans under 26,000 pounds. Those trucks do not require a CDL. Now, unfortunately, I'm not very familiar with how non-CDL trucks operate, but I'm going to tell you what the postings usually say. No CDL, no logbook, no inspections, no language checks, ELP, no need to go to weigh stations.
But unfortunately, box trucks are also subject to DOT regulations and inspections, and you have to have EODs for those box trucks as well. So I don't know how long you think you're going to get away with running illegally 900, 1,000 miles a day, but hey, I guess we'll see. Now, moving on, I do want to talk about a video that Alex Mine from the Mother Trucker News channel made last week about how you have these non-domiciled CDL holders. They're finding out that they can't get their CDLs renewed. Now, one of them is actually from the Indian subcontinent, and it appears that he can't speak English. He did his interview in Hindi, so let's take a look at that.
In California, a driver is not able to get a renewal because he doesn't follow the new rules that Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy put out there.
As he explains in Hindi, only green card holders and U.S. citizens can get their commercial driver's license renewed.
So yeah, I'd imagine that, maybe he does have a valid work permit. I'm not sure what his migration status is, but the issue is part of that interim final rule is that you have to be proficient in English, which he isn't. Now, there is another truck driver, which I kind of have to side-eye because he kind of looks suspicious to me. He claims that he's a DACA recipient and he's been in the United States since he was 2 years old, but there's just one problem with that. Let's just take a look at the clip.
A second story is where a driver under the DACA recipient, and basically that is a person protected under deferred action for childhood arrivals. And so basically this is temporary as well. But this driver came here when he was 2 years old, speaks amazing English, but then because of the strict rules, cannot renew either because he is not a U.S. citizen.
People to know that I don't choose to be illegal. I don't choose to be, and I don't even know the word illegal characters. If I have a work permit and I have a document saying that I'm protected, I'm going through the proper channels. Am I illegal?
So yes, he looks a lot older than what a DAC recipient is. Now, the law itself went into effect in June of 2012 under the Obama administration. And here's what it says. The deferred action for childhood arrivals is a U.S. immigration policy that allows some individuals that were physically present in the U.S. illegally in 2012 to receive renewable deferred action from deportation. Now, the children would have had to have been in the U.S. for at least 5 years prior to 2012. If this truck driver is saying, this truck driver right here, he's saying that he was 2 years old and he's a DACA recipient, that means he would have to at least be 20 years old today. He'd have to be in the United States since 2007 at least. And that means he'd have to be born in 2005-ish. So does he look like a 20-year-old truck driver to you? And even if he does, is he an OTR truck driver? Because as far as I'm concerned, you have to be 21 to haul freight across state line. And prior to DACA, the only other major sweeping immigration policy that was favorable for illegal immigrants was actually the Reagan Amnesty Acts in the mid 1980s, in which 3 million illegal immigrants were granted legal status and they were able to become U.S. citizens. So yeah, he's not a U.S. citizen. He claims to be DACA. The only way he can actually become a U.S. citizen, if he is a DACA recipient, I'm not totally sure because he looks way older than 20 to me. But he has to actually marry a U.S. citizen to get, his pathway towards citizenship. So yeah, whatever the situation with him is, I hope he finds love pretty soon if he wants his CDO back. But yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about that. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. You guys are the greatest. You guys are the best audience on the internet. If you enjoy content like this, hit the like button, comment, rate, share, and subscribe. I am Taja Ellison, and I'll see you next time.